What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily Channel with me, Mike Zakarian. And listen, vibes are better again, all right? We had a day to take in the loss against the 76ers, and now we refocus our efforts as the Celtics head to the Garden. They're taking on the New York Knicks tonight. It's Friday night. It's on Prime. I forgot we're going to have basketball games the same places that I ordered trash bags. We got Amazon Prime. Blake Griffin's going to be in the studio. So I don't know. I'm starting to talk myself back into it all over again. And happy Friday. We made it. If it's your first time hanging out with us here at the Celtics Daily, do me a favor, hit the subscribe. It's good for the algorithm. It's good for the health. It's good for everybody, So get involved in the chat, like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all of those things. All right, let's get started with Celtics Knicks. Here's what we're looking for, and I'm curious to hear what the chat's looking for too. Here's what I'm looking for tonight. I want to see if Kata can continue to build off of that performance. Let's start glass half full. I really did like what we saw from Nemi in game one. And for him to be, kind of a question mark as we were ending the preseason, we had like one good preseason game, but it wasn't exactly what we were looking for, right? And then to come out, I thought he held his own. Like, I did not think he was the reason that we fell apart there in the fourth quarter. Some of the defensive stuff still needs to get a little bit sharper, but again, overall, right? Excuse me, in that 117-116 loss to the 76ers, Kata was out there. He had 17 points and 8 boards in just 25 minutes, right? 7 for 8 from the field. Did not attempt a three-point shot, which is something he was experimenting a little bit with in Eurobasket. So I was curious if we were going to see a little Chef Curry on him, but we didn't. So can Kata continue to build off this? The other thing we need to look for is just if VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey cooked us for the 74 points, what is Jalen Brunson going to do? And I'm starting to be like, okay, well, maybe the speed, the speed of Maxey, the speed of Edgecombe is just another level, right? And that became a problem. And with Brunson, it's not really like that, right? And that's no disrespect. I think Brunson is the better player of the three guys that we just listed, obviously. But Brunson is more methodical. And that's not even to say that Maxey's not methodical, but Brunson needs to get to his spots, right? All about getting to that mid-range game, knocking down the three when it's there. Are the Celtics more equipped to handle that type of guard than they were Maxey and Edgecombe? And in that same vein, Derek White, man, we were just talking about like how you were snubbed for all defense, right? How you led the league in block shots of a guard last season. I think we kind of need you a little bit more. I was lucky enough last night to go on the New York Post sports show called He Got Game with Brian Fonseca and Dexter Henry, and we talked about this matchup, and they actually brought that up. Like, what is it? What was it about the guard performance that we were unable to execute and slow anybody down? And they name checked Derek White. One of the things I was thinking about, and again, defense is such a team thing, right? Yes, there are on-ball defenders who are good. Derek White is one of them. But I think a lot of times, like as the defense grows, as the team defense goes, the individual defender goes, right? We've always used DeJounte Murray as the example. DeJounte at San Antonio is this kind of like, ball hawk, lockdown defender, and then he goes to Atlanta and just falls apart a little bit. And I think that had more to do with the Atlanta defensive scheme, right? So with Boston, you lose all of those guys who are good defenders, and now you're asking Peyton Pritchard to defend at a higher level. But the other thing that I was thinking about is you're now asking Derek White to do a little bit more on the offensive end, and that does take a toll. We talked about how, like yesterday, about how Luka, sometimes he can get a pass defensively because of how elite offensively he is. But the part of that is like he kind of has to he can't be using all of his energy on both sides of the floor because so much of responsibility is upon him for the offensive end. We've thought LeBron is another great example of somebody who was able to take plays off, hide defensively, if you will, so that he had enough in the tank in fourth quarters to run offense in the fourth, right? And so if Derek White is now all of a sudden asked to do so much more offensively, like getting up 13 to 17 shots a game, doing some ball handling, some distribution, right? Is that going to hinder him on the defensive end? So that's something that I'm looking for Also, like just the bench in general in this game. So the Celtics, Xavier Tillman, listen, I'll give the X-Men a little bit of love. He played 16 good minutes, right? 4.7 boards, a couple of errors out there, but for the most part, I kind of like the athleticism we saw from Xavier Tillman. Definitely a different type of guy than what we saw in the past or in the year past. Chris Boucher, too, man. I kind of thought we were going to see Boucher in the starting lineup. I know we were going back and forth, right? Like I felt pretty confident it was going to be Jaylen Brown, Pritchard, White, Keita, and then was it going to be Hauser or was it going to be Boucher? And then Boucher, not only did he not start, only played 16 minutes off the bench. So I don't know. I'm curious to see if we see a little bit more from him. Josh Minot with 14 minutes off the bench, but Minot, Tillman, and and Boucher combined for 12 points. And that's just probably not going to be enough. And Simons had 13 of his own, so that's 25. But for the most part, the bench was pretty quiet. And if the starters aren't going to be able to knock down the triples, we're going to need some instant offense off of the bench. And I mentioned the triples, 11 for 43. You know what was wild? The Celtics talked all off season about how they were going to just run. That was something that was mentioned in training camp. That was something that was mentioned in the preseason, that they're going to play fast, fast, fast. All they're doing is running, running, running. That Missoula is going to have to, just like morph this offense into a track meet and like three-point chucking, right? Not only did the three ball not fall, which I'll talk about here more in a second, they are right now, and this is before last night's game, but by the looks of the pace of both of the games last night, the Celtics were like 24th or 25th in pace. And all I was hearing this offseason was that Tatum was the reason that we play slow. And that's not a negative because Tatum is an elite player, an elite playmaker. It's like, yeah, of course we're going to slow it down to make sure that Tatum gets to where he needs to get to. But now you take Tatum out of the equation, everybody's like, oh, we're going to be run and gun, baby. We are going to be like the Texas Tech offense from the Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree era. How about that for a name pull off the top of the dome, right? We're going to be like the Rams of Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, and I can't remember, Isaac Bruce. I'm forgetting another receiver that I should have gone with. But Torrey Holt, right? That's what we were kind of promised. And so to come, and again, it's one game, but you're going to go up against this Knicks team who, let's go over their starting five for a second. And because there's a world too that Karl Anthony Towns, I didn't realize this until talking to those guys last night. I knew he was questionable going into the first game. He ends up plays a full game, but apparently has a grade 2 quad strain, right? So Cat played 31 minutes in that game, had 19 and 11. But this is the starting five. OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, Ariel Hukporti, Mikal Bridges, and Jalen Brunson. Off the bench, they got Yabusele, Clarkson, Shamet, Miles McBride, Tyler Kolek. Now, we already know that Mitchell Robinson's not going to play for the Knicks. It does seem like Josh Hart has been gone from out to questionable, so I expect to see Josh Hart tonight. But I kind of think that Karl Anthony Towns is going to sit this one out. And either way, if Cat's in there or he's not in there, the Celtics need to just run them out the gym. That is their best bet. They need to be flying, and they need to create some variance in this. Right now, they have the Knicks favored by 4.5. I don't know if that tells me that Cat's in or Cat's out, but that whether he's in or out, they got to be flying. And the other thing I want to see is how they defend Karl Anthony Towns. Like, we kind of got bailed out by Joel Embiid's cottage cheese knees in that first game where he just couldn't get off the floor. Karl Anthony Towns, if healthy, now we might also get bailed out with his quad strain, but if healthy, is one of the most dynamic offensive big men in the league. And we can make fun of Cat all we want. People love to do that. I don't know why. Internet loves to make fun of Karl Anthony Towns, maybe because he sounds like when he is trying to draw a foul. That's fair. But he's still an elite offensive player. And I think everybody remembers Cat as like the three-point chucker, right? Because he did go out and say, I'm like the best shooting three-point big man in NBA history. And everybody's like, okay, dude. But then you look at it, he is. But yes, he can shoot the ball, but he's also pretty dynamic getting to the rim down low. And I think this is going to be a much bigger challenge for Keita than, say, a Joel Embiid because of the way that he can stretch the floor. And that's going to require him to move a little bit more. His rotations are going to have to be a little bit tighter. And so I'm fascinated to see how they're able to defend Karl Anthony Towns. So those are the two things that I'm watching. The other thing, the three balls I mentioned, it was like 11 for 40-something. They shot 25% from three. Not only did they not shoot a high volume, but they shot a low percentage. Now, maybe it's what the 76ers were giving them. I don't know. I would like to see this offense impose their will on them, okay? They are a little bit less talented, this New York Knicks team, who's favored to finish either 1 or 2 in the East. I had them number 1, but so when that's the case, you got to do some different stuff, man. And you can't tell me all off season that we're going to be running track, we're going to be the Noah Lyles and Usain Bolt of the NBA, and then go out there and play the 24th slowest. And I know it's a one-game overreaction, but come on. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And it felt like it was we maybe were moving a little bit faster in the first and second quarter. Third quarter, we actually played some defense. And you're like, oh, maybe we got this. And then we let go of the rope in the fourth quarter and gave themselves an L. And listen, that was a winnable game. And as I mentioned yesterday, the margin for error for this team is a lot lower than it has been in the past, or thinner. I don't know, whatever the saying is. So when you give away a game that is a winnable game that you should win, you now have to go make that up somewhere else in a game that you're not supposed to win, and that's tonight. The Knicks are coming off a big W against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm sure they would like to start 2-0, slaying 2 Eastern Conference giants in the first 72 hours of the NBA season. So come on, let's go. I feel like that came across more negative than I wanted it to, because I do love this. I'm having fun watching this team and rooting for this team. It's a different experience than it has been in years past. That's for damn sure. But I don't know. Let's get into some of the stuff that was. Dude, so yesterday, I get the. Well, I can't do the Twitter noise. Whatever. Tweet comes up. Shams is like, "Hey, Terry Rozier arrested." Then that was as I turned the camera on. Then we got Chauncey Billups gets arrested, and then Damon Jones. Damon Jones used to be a LeBron James teammate, friend, assistant coach for, I believe, the Cavs at one point, maybe somebody else as well. So that's 3 major guys. Also, I watched the press conference. By the way, if you guys aren't tuned into the NBA Bit show, I know I plugged it for the marathon. I actually do that show, not a 7-hour show, but I do a daily show Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. And yesterday, as the press conference was happening, we were live and we watched the press conference together. It was a lot of fun. Everybody in the chat was having a chuckle, if you will, while we saw some pretty dark stuff. And I'm going to read some of the specifics here to you, because it's just bonkers shit. But we're talking about La Cosa Nostra. That's what La Cosa Nostra was name dropped in this thing. That was the mafia ties for what was going on. And there were 2 different things, right? So the Terry Rozier is specific to sports betting, all right? The Chauncey Billups, the way the FBI made it sound, had nothing to do with sports betting, and it was all about this illegal rigged poker game that was going on, where they were doing crazy stuff. Honestly, it feels like an Ocean's movie on meth, where they're using contact lenses that have X-ray vision so they could see through the cards. I mean, it was just bonkers stuff. But I wanted to read out this specific thing, and I want to give Pablo Torre credit from Pablo Torre Finds Out, because he's done some excellent reporting on this. But so again, the Chauncey stuff, as reported by the FBI in the press conference and everybody else, was about just. He was arrested just for the poker side of things. Ready? Listen to this. I'm going to read you a Pablo Torre tweet, and then there's 2 segments from the indictment. Ready? He goes, this is from Pablo. After reading the 2 DOJ indictments, it seems pretty clear that Chauncey Billups is a central figure in both the poker and betting investigations, which are intertwined in multiple other ways. He isn't named in the latter, but the allegations for co-conspirator 8 are huge. All right, ready? Here are the two portions of it. This is from the DOJ, the indictment letters, I believe. All right, so here it goes. Co-conspirator 8, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, was a resident of Oregon. He was an NBA player from approximately 1997 through 2014 and an NBA coach since at least 2021. That narrows it down to a person, and his name is Chauncey Billups. I'm going to read you one more segment here. It goes on or about March 24th, 2023. The Portland Trailblazers played the Chicago Bulls. Prior to the game, the Trailblazers' record was 32-40, and the team was out of playoff contention with only 10 games remaining in the season. Prior to that game, co-conspirator 8 told the defendant, Eric Ernest, also listed in the poker side of things, Eric Ernest, that the Trailblazers were going to be tanking to increase their odds of getting a better draft pick in the upcoming NBA draft. pause here for a second, not like the sexual one, but just a pause. This was the draft that this next draft was when they got Scoot Henderson. So the tanking sort of worked, sort of. Back to this. Co-conspirator 8 told Ernest before the news was publicly announced that several of the Trailblazers' best players, including player 1, an individual whose identity is known to the grand jury, who we believe is Damian Lillard, would not be playing in the March 24th game. The information that the Trailblazers would be tanking and not playing, player 1 was not available to the public, including the betting company. So this is nuts because it's not only the poker thing. This is Chauncey basically being like, hey man, we're not playing any of our guys tomorrow. And like, you can be like, hey, yeah, but dude, you tell your friends sometimes, right? He had a bad day. He had a bad day sipping on a Brewha, having a beer there after the game. And he's like, yeah, man, I think we're shutting it down for this season. We'll go get him next season. Okay, fine. Yes, people do tell their friends stuff. That's nothing crazy. But when your friend is the guy also helping run the illegal poker games with La Cosa Nostra ties, I don't know. That feels a little Pete Rose-ish. That feels like that. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. And so I think this is going to get a little bit uglier before it gets better. Better, B-E-T-T-O-R. Before it gets better, though. And I wonder if more names get dropped, too. Like, this seems far from over. Talked a little bit yesterday just about sports gambling in general. And, you know, like, I'm obviously I'm a fan of it. But this is pretty nuts. I mean, this sounds like jail time, you know? And Terry, too. Terry basically just throwing some stats. I mean, this is nuts. And I think the Mafia ties it's crazy, too. Also, like FanDuel and DraftKings and BetMGM, all these companies are bringing in like crazy amounts of money, right? When there is a weird bet that happens, especially if it's DraftKings and like losing money to something that seems funny or fishy, excuse me, they're gonna lose their mind trying to prove that you did something wrong, right? They're not just gonna like willy-nilly be like, all right, I guess we got boned on Terry Rozier under props 3,000% more than we normally do, right? Like, of course they have the resources and funding to go like break this down, and that's what's going to happen every time. So I guess like that's the positive, is that that's there. But man, pretty dark stuff for the NBA. Adam Silver, who famously hasn't really done anything since getting rid of Donald Sterling, I'm curious to see how he responds. They gave a pretty like bullshit statement, just being like, we're aware of it and we're putting them on leave. Yeah, no shit, you're putting them on leave. They were arrested. Typically they don't go to work the next day. But great Portland plays tonight, and that what a weird experience for them, you know? I don't know. Anyways, let's go just a couple games last night, and then I'll get to some of your comments from yesterday's video. There were just Oklahoma City Thunder. Not only did they win the title, you think they get like a smooth start to the season? No, they go back-to-back double overtime games. And listen, shout out the Indiana Pacers, who are dealing with a similar thing of the Boston Celtics, right? They lose their star, Tyrese Halliburton, to a catastrophic injury in the playoffs. Miles Turner, their best big man, he was traded away or signed away. Look at this starting five for the Pacers. Pascal Siakam, Isaiah Jackson, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Benedict Mathurin, playing a lot of Obi Toppin, a lot of Jarris Walker. But the Thunder won this one in double OT, 141-135. And then we got our first 50-point performance of the year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 55 points, 8 boards, and 5 dimes in this one. Aaron Wiggins gave him 23. They were doing this without Jalen Williams again for the second straight game. And then keep an eye on A.J. Mitchell off the bench. He had 26 points. Fun for them. Benedict Mathurin looked awesome. He had 36 and 11. Spicy P. Siakam had 32 and 15. And then just like the late game, too, the Warriors now, 2 impressive W's. They have a comeback win against the Nuggets at home, 137-131. They've now beaten the Lakers and the Nuggets. Aaron Gordon saw Shai Gilgeous-Alexander drop 50 and was like, anything you can do, I can do better. I can do better. Okay, yeah, so Aaron Gordon gets 50 in that game and 8 boards. Jokic had 21, 13, and 10. I watched this game. I stayed up too late, which is probably why I kind of seem insane right now. Jokic looked like he was having a bad game and then had a triple-double. Jamal Murray had 25 and 10. With Steph, though, Steph was crazy. Steph went 6 for 12 from 3, 8 for 8 from the line, 42, 7, and 6. He was awesome. Warriors get a W. And that's it. There was only 2 games last night and then some football, so that was kind of fun. All right, let's get into your comments from yesterday. I want to let's remind you, though, hit that subby, baby. Hit that subscribe, baby. You got to do it. You got to do it. Fergus Hart said those little missed layups and dunks were a little annoying. Got to finish better at the rim. Yeah, and hopefully that comes with time, right? Because those feel like bunnies. You can't have those missed buckets, especially in a close game. Those always come back to haunt you. Real Ghosty mentioned what we were talking about earlier. We also got to work on the threes being a little bit more consistent. Like we couldn't pick if we wanted to play mid range or play the paint or even three. Yeah, it did again, and it's a new team. Even though it's some familiar faces. They're still like figuring out their new role. So we'll give them a little bit of time. And Carolina said, good and honest analysis, Michael. One of the best. He said, Carolina said, I would add Missoula was in classic form with a blown double-digit fourth quarter lead and botched last second place. Yeah. Fourth quarter wasn't fun. It was not fun. Fergus Hart also, just like me, said he still got that Scary Terry shirt. That was a great one. That was a great shirt. And then Nuno was giving me a hard time for calling Terry Rozier a Boston legend. I know, but I said it with a wink. You know what I'm saying? Carlos Harris said the two guards lit us up. We had a bad shooting night. This team will get better. Brown is still going to be a beast. Pritchard will find his shot. White will be White. We only lost by 2. Don't overreact. The team will be fine. Maybe not 50 like I thought, but still don't see less than 40. In the words of Aaron Rodgers, relax. That's how you know we're in a bad spot if we're quoting Aaron Rodgers after game 1. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to be like a tanking team. It was just a frustrating loss. And I think the shot will fall. I'm excited to see tonight. Even if they lose to the Knicks tonight, I just want to see better execution on the offensive end. I won't be too salty. But that's going to do it for me today. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday unless some crazy goes down this weekend. But hit that subscribe on the way out. Thank you for watching. Let's go C's.